So this is lesson 1 in the Matthew C. Gamma Pink book. And the way that we do this lesson, it's pretty straightforward. These are all of our blocks. And we're not quite getting into it. We're just learning the basics of multiplication first. And that's why we don't have to know our times tables yet, even though they have the 6 times 3. All we're doing up here is we're just counting all of these blocks. And that's how we get our numbers. So for example, here at the bottom, they just did from left to right horizontally, okay? How many blocks are here? So on each row, how many blocks are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 6 blocks per row. So that's why we have that 6 here. Then we come up here and in our columns, okay, we have 1, 2, 3. So that's how we get that 3 right there. Then we come over to the side and you see how we use those same numbers and make them an equation. How we get 18 is not at this point just by knowing 6 times 3 because we're learning, right? So what we're doing is we are counting the blocks. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And that's how we get this number right here, 18. Okay? Then we come down to number 2. Okay, and if you see number 2, you can see that we only have one equation here. Why is that? Well, it's because this is a square. It's not a rectangle. So what do we know about squares? Every single side is the same. And that's why, since we're going to multiply these two sides, they're going to be the same exact number. So we can't switch them over like we did with these. Okay, so then we count again, 1, 2, 3, the 3 right here. Then we count over here the same way we counted up top over here horizontally, 1, 2, 3, and that's 3 right there. We have our two numbers, we put them in our equation, 3 times 3, and then we go ahead and we count all of the blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So total is 9, and we put our total number in the middle as well. Okay, so that's how you do those problems in the book. Now there's also these problems over here. I'm going to scoot this over so you can see. And I've already done this one, but what you're basically doing, let me go to a different page that I haven't done yet. Okay, so if you look at number 7 over here, lesson practice 1B. So it shows, it says build and draw the rectangle that is the same as. And then it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sets of 3 blocks together. Okay? So if we're going to build this, we know that we have to have 5 rows, all stacked one on top of the other. Okay, we can count again just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 rows we need. So we can count this one as the first one if it's not going to be confusing. And we could do 1 right here, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And go back and check. Count the originals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you know that you've got it. If this gets you confused where you forget to count this original one and you add another, then just do it to the side over here. That way you're not confused. You know there's 5. This is your first one, second, third, fourth, and fifth. So, and all this is showing is because multiplication, when we have multiplication, then it really is grouping. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 groups of, how many is in each group? 1, 2, and 3. So 5 groups, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 groups of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's how you do that one. We will have in lesson 1 as well, we'll have some just addition and subtraction problems. So that should all be reviewed. Okay, and if your child is having problems with this, then just let me know, and I have some tips. Usually the easiest way to subtract or to add is to just subtract from a 10 or make a 10 before you add the rest. For example, let's do this one. If we have 8 plus 6, we know that if we add 2 more to 8, that is going to give us 10. And if we add anything like 10 plus 4, that's 14. 10 plus 5, it's 15. 10 plus 6, and so on. It's very easy to add that. But when we add something like this, it's a bit more complicated. So if we use the 10 way, it makes life a lot easier. And it looks a little bit more complicated at first, but once you teach your brain to do it this way, it really is easier. So I'm going to show you how we would do this one, the 10 way. So we have the 8 plus the 6, and we know that if we added 2 more to 8, we would get that 10. So we break the 6 into 2 plus whatever else would equal 6. And this is where knowing your factors is very important. So we should know all the numbers that add up to get to 6. And we should know that for all the numbers from 3 to 10. If we know that, then that just makes life so much easier. So right here, we know that 2 plus 4 equals 6. Okay, we took that 2 out, remember, because we're making that 10 with the 8. And 8 needs 2 more in order to get the 10. So we circle these together, we know that that's 10. Okay, we put our 10 down. That's the reason why we took the 2 away from the 6, was to make the 10. So here's our 10 that we made. We bring down the other part of the 6 that was broken apart into 2 and 4, and we bring that down, and then this is 14, because 10 plus 4 is 14. So that's the way to do it for addition, where you make a 10 and then you add with a 10. And then the way to do it for subtraction, as you can see, if you look at number 11, 10 minus 1, that's very easy to do because you're just subtracting 1 from the 10, and subtracting from is easier. Okay. Now if we come down here, this is a bit harder. 15 minus 9, that's harder because we're subtracting from a double digit number. It's not a 10. It just makes it a little bit harder. But if we break this 15 up, just like we did with the 6 up here, and we break it up into our 10 plus 5, because this is what equals 15. And remember, what are we doing? We're pulling out a 10. Okay? And if we pull out a 10, there's something left over. This is our remainder. So these two together make that 15. So we can break up the 15 into 10 plus 5. That way we can subtract from that 10. We move the minus 9 over here, and we subtract from the 10. What is that? 10 minus 9 is the opposite of this. 10 minus 1, so it is 1. We bring down the 5. And what is the 5? That's the other part of this 15 because it was broken down into 10 plus 5. So now we have 1 plus 5, which is super easy. That's 6. So that's an easy way to subtract where you're not counting on fingers, you're not using tally marks, and it's a great way to train your brain to do these basic subtraction and addition problems, because math is just going to get harder. So I really encourage students to try and use this method because it just makes life a lot easier as math gets more challenging. And I think that's all we have on this chapter. Yep, that's pretty much it. So if you guys have any other questions, then just make sure and send me a message, and I will answer any other questions you have for chapter 1. Thank you.